readers, yesterday I met someone who told me that he had driven across the country to be with his family for Thanksgiving. He started in New York and he drove all the way across the country to Los Angeles, from the east to the west. And I thought to myself, wow. I said, that must have been an awesome trip. I can imagine the rolling golden cornfields that you passed, the Rocky Mountain landscapes that you saw, rivers and brooks and streams, and just absolutely beautiful scenery to look at as you're driving. And he said, no, not really. You know, we just hit the road. We got in the car. We knew we had to get there for Thanksgiving, so all I was really watching was the rear bumper, the back bumper of the brown SUV that was in front of me. Yeah, I was driving and, you know, I was following this group of friends because they knew how to get there, so we just followed them. I didn't really notice the scenery. I guess I just didn't really have that much time to look. And I thought, I was appalled. I couldn't believe it. How could he have gotten from one place to another and not appreciated the scenery? All you have to do is look out the window. You know, he didn't appreciate any of it. Sure, he got from New York to Los Angeles. He finished the trip. He got to where he was going. But he didn't really live in the moment. He didn't live through the trip to appreciate it. If you want to envision, make the movie in your mind, and predict with real strength as a reader, then you have to pay attention to the details. That driver, remember, he went really fast from one place to the other. He got where he was going. But if you were to read books like that really fast and not really pay attention to anything on the way, you're not reading strong. You're just not. Let's practice mining for those details, really trying to find them in the next chapter. Chapter 15. By the time they made it back to the motel parking lot, it was dark outside, and they were both laughing so hard they could barely walk. "Rob," said his father. He was standing at the door to their room. The blue-gray light from inside seeped out around him. "Yes, sir," said Rob. He dropped Sistine's hand. He stood up straight. "Where you been?" "Out in the woods." "Did you finish up all them jobs I told you to do?" "Yes, sir," said Rob. "Who you got with you?" his father said, squinting into the darkness. Sistine drew herself up tall. "This is Sistine," said Rob. "Uh-huh," said his father, still squinting. "You live around here?" he asked. "For now," said Sistine. "Your parents know you're out here?" "I was going to call my mother," said Sistine. "There's a payphone down in the laundry room," said Rob's father. "In the laundry room?" Sistine repeated, her voice full of disbelief. She put her hands on her hips. "We don't got a phone in the room." "We don't got a phone in the room," Rob said to her softly. "Good grief," said Sistine. "Well, can I have some change at least?" Rob's father reached into his pants pocket and pulled out a handful of coins. He balanced the money in the palm of his hand as if he was preparing to do a magic trick. And Rob stepped forward and took the coins from him and handed them to Sistine. "You want me to go with you?" he asked her. "No," she said. "I'll find it. Thank you very much." "Rob," said his father, as Sistine marched away, swinging her arms, "what's that girl doing in your clothes?" "She had on a dress," Rob said. "It was too pretty to wear out in the woods." "Come on in here," his father commanded. "Let's get that medicine on your legs." "Yes, sir," said Rob. He walked toward the room slowly. His happiness had evaporated. His legs itched, and the motel room he knew would be as dark as a cave, lit only by the gray light of the TV. When his mother was alive, the world had seemed full of light. The Christmas before she died, she had strung the outside of their house in Jacksonville with hundreds of white lights. Every night the house lit up like a constellation, and they were all inside it together, the three of them, and they were happy. Rob remembered, and as he remembered, he stepped into the motel room. He shook his head and scolded himself for opening his suitcase. Just thinking about all the things that were gone now seemed to make the darkness darker. Wow, that was intense at the end. I feel so bad for Rob. He remembered how bright and cheery his mother had made that Christmas holiday for him back when they had their house. Just as he stepped into the dingy, dark motel room where his dad is. And I want you to think about this detail. You've probably noticed it happening throughout the book. The detail about the suitcase. What is that suitcase? And what does it mean? I'll reread a part. Rob remembered, and as he remembered, he stepped into the motel room. He shook his head and scolded himself for opening the suitcase. Just thinking about all the things that were gone now seems to make the darkness darker. What are all those not thoughts in that suitcase? Is that suitcase even real? What does that mean? That's the detail that I want you to talk about today. I want you to think about what that suitcase is. Why does the author use it in the book? Why you think Rob remembers these thoughts sometimes and tries to push them, shove them back in that suitcase. It's probably overflowing and he just tries to close it up and latch it closed, but it's like trying to burst sometimes. Yeah, that's your job. Talk about that suitcase full of not thoughts.